Welcome back to the MyLatinLife podcast. Since 2014, MyLatinLife has been your trusted guide to traveling and living in Latin America. Our guest today is Tigran. He's an international man of mystery, and I particularly wanted to discuss today, he has this tequila investment in Mexico. I've always been fascinated by the idea of investing in tequila or mezcal or coffee or cigars in Mexico. So I'm curious to hear what he's up to. And we'll talk about alternative investments in general as a digital nomad, expat, man of mystery. So Tigran, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Vance. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I guess let's get right into it. How did you kind of stumble upon the tequila industry and decide that that's where you wanted to allocate some capital? How did you kind of identify an opportunity there?
So, just to give you some context, I'm not working a full time job since 2020, and most of what I do is for fun. And one of the things I do is I try to find various alternative investments. So, for that, I need to subscribe to various investment letters, talk to business owners, find some businesses that need some cash, right? And by doing this, I can structure new investments for me and my friends. And the way I found this tequila investment, I was subscribed to the ALTS fund newsletter. So ALTS is an alternative investment fund. Um,
How do you spell that if I want to look it
is
up?
sure. It's ALTS,
Hmm.
and they have a website, alts.co.
Alts.co.
Yeah,
All right, cool.
so basically, I did not have to reinvent this thing. I just learned about this opportunity from them. So in one of their newsletters, somewhere at the end of the message, they had this phrase like, we have a partner in Mexico and he needs to sell his last barrels for aging. So I thought this is pretty interesting. I had to dive in and learn about the industry, do some research, and figure out what kind of return on investment I can get there. And actually, I got something like 25 to 30% annual return. So that got me excited, obviously, because you don't get anything close to that in public markets, stocks, bonds. So this is pretty rare to find an opportunity like that. And I think that it's just a niche field where there is not much competition. And maybe after several years, the competitors will jump in and eat this margin. So I thought I need to contact the guy as soon as possible. So his name is Miguel from House of Rare. So we had a conversation with him, and I realized that it's like a turnkey investment. And yeah, I just bought 2 barrels, and I stayed in touch with him, did due diligence, and my friends learned about it, and we started visiting him in Mexico, and everything was pretty cool. And we actually invited him recently to Buenos Aires, where I am right now, and he gave us presentation. We tried all the tequila that you know were aging with his help, and that was even more exciting. So yeah, this is a pretty interesting field, and the reason it's so profitable is because usually producers want to sell fresh tequila, and they don't want to wait until it goes through aging process. And this is where we go. We pay up front for the barrels, for aging, for the storage, insurance, and so on. And for us, it's okay to wait for a few years. And on the other end of this market, for aged tequila, the prices are pretty high. So basically, the liquid itself, it goes in price like 5 times in 3 years. So I think this is pretty interesting. Just to give you a quick, um, how to say, context.
Mhm.
Basically, the tequila that you can find in stores, it exists in several versions. The most common is called blanco. It's fresh tequila, just produced, no aging. Then from few months to a year of aging is called reposado, and you can see it's like a little bit yellow, like yellowish color.
Yep.
Then 1 year is añejo, old, and extra añejo is not that easy to find actually, but yes, it's aged for 3 years plus. So extra añejo is our goal. Um, and tequila is actually produced in Mexico only. It's because only when you produce it within like five different states of Mexico, this is called tequila. You're not allowed to call tequila any other products, that are produced in other states or in other countries. So that creates a kind of artificial scarcity, which is also a reason why this is so profitable. So basically, there are not too many distilleries who have licenses, and the volume is pretty much limited. So our partner in Mexico, he works with distilleries there, and I guess he earned their trust, and we buy their fresh tequila, pour into barrels, and let them stay there for a few years, and sell later.
Hmm. And I'm curious, just sort of as a devil's advocate, why don't all the big companies just do this then? Like the Diageos and the big alcohol companies, why don't they just store it for 3 years themselves if they can make so much more money? Obviously, there's like a cash flow aspect to it as well, but I imagine the big companies are doing this as well. They have warehouse space and so forth.
I think they have a different business model. So for them, volume is more important, and they know about the price they will get now. So they have huge, huge demand right now. And to give you an example, in the U.S., tequila is actually skyrocketing in demand. So it's about to take over vodka, right? So it's already more popular than all other spirits. So I think that for big producers, it's better to sell right now than to wait and risk, um, being able to sell it later for more.
Right.
And
I'm surprised they don't
yeah,
have like because of the cash flow cycle and so forth. But I'm surprised they don't because they have like billions of dollars. I'm surprised they don't have like some department that's at least allocating some percentage to aging it if it's going up 5x in value in 3 years. Kind of crazy.
they may. We'll
Yeah.
figure it out. I think we will see that. I think we will still see that in a few years, which is what I'm saying. That if something is very profitable, sooner or later people figure it out, and I think that our margins will be squeezed because in whiskey is a much more mature field, and over there, this turnkey aging exists for a long time, and the returns are not even close to what we're getting in tequila. So it's more like 10 to 12%. So I think that sooner or later we'll have the same thing. So big producers will jump on this opportunity, and yeah, I mean our margins will be squeezed. But so far, I think we have maybe a few years left to squeeze this.
Hmm. Okay. And what happens at the end of the 3 years or the aging process? Are you bottling a finished product yourself, or are you selling the tequila back to the manufacturers? How does that liquidity event, pun intended,
Yeah, I
occur?
know. Yeah, so after 3 years of aging, people who own the barrels, they have a choice. They can either sell it wholesale using our partners in Mexico. They can bottle it and store for themselves, or they keep aging it for a small fee year after year. So it's really up to them because they are the owners of this barrels. So it's not like they're buying shares of some funds that hold the barrels. They're actually owners, so each barrel has a serial number and they can do whatever they wish. Sometimes there are actually some liquidity events that we have before 3 year mark. For example, our very first collection we sold after 1 year back to manufacturer. So they really wanted to buy all of it, and basically we get paid some kind of cash dividend, and we could refill the barrels for the next 3 years. So it's really flexible actually because it's a small production, and I'm trying to build like a community of friends around this. And if there is anything coming up, everyone gets notified, and sometimes it's possible to exit it even before 3 year mark.
Okay, got it. So it's not like you're building a brand or have to bottle it yourself and try to, sell it to consumers or anything. You just sell it back to tequila companies or whatever, and then they are responsible for the bottling and the marketing and so forth.
Yeah, so the people who are actually working there on ground, they have their own label, and sometimes they can use the label of the distillery. So people who are buying these barrels, they don't need to participate in the bottling and selling. So there is a wide network of distributors who can sell these bottles retail. So there are many different opportunities to get a liquidity event. And yes, if you don't want to, you don't need to participate in that. Basically, the partner that we have in Mexico, he will probably take a cut of the sales, and this way he can find the best possible buyer for this liquid.
Hmm. Tell me about how the due diligence process was, because you definitely got to be careful as a foreigner doing business in Mexico or in Latin America. How do you approach due diligence? How do you think about it?
Yeah, so of course you're right, right? Even if you trust your partners, you need to check on what's going on. So we have, as I said, like a small community of friends who come there and check on the process. So the barreling itself is actually being done in the presence of an inspector, the state inspector, and the barrels are being sealed. So there are some measures taken by the government already, and then on top of that, this is our due diligence. So we need to make sure the barrels are numbered, and one barrel should be sold to only one person, right? So that's important. And we have people coming there from time to time and checking on what's going on there. And actually, our partners in Mexico are great. I mean, we really like them. So it's open door policy, and people can come almost anytime and try the tequila that is being produced there and check the facilities, and talk to people. So this way we can be confident that people who work there, they're actually doing their job. But you're right. I mean, even if you trust people, you need to do some level of due diligence, because in like real sector, especially in alternative investments, there are so many scams going on. I would say that maybe 75% plus of alternative investments are scams and Ponzi schemes.
Wow. And obviously, you have a sort of Eastern European accent or something. So hopefully, you're better than the average person at unearthing scams. But could you tell us a little bit, kind of about your background and how you became a digital nomad?
Sure, sure. You're right. Yes, I'm. I was born in Soviet Union in Armenia, so it's a small country up in the mountains between Russia and Iran. So that was in 1980s, and then we moved to Russia with my parents. So I got my degree in physics there. So I'm a scientist by profession. I couldn't find a job in Russia at that time, and I moved to Germany. So I worked in Germany for 4 years as a scientist doing research. After that, I moved to the US and lived there for 10 years. And during these 10 years, I also worked for various scientific organizations. Um, the final one was actually NASA. I worked for space programs. So it was pretty exciting, interesting work, but super stressful because your deadlines are basically launches of some, spacecraft into space. So that was a bit difficult, and I wanted to have maybe same level of mm, intensity but better pay. So I switched to finance. We moved to New York with my wife. So over there, I worked for a hedge fund, and I worked with other very smart people and we were managing a huge portfolio of stocks. It was very interesting, very profitable, and after I earned enough, I sort of retired, if you can say this. It's like it's not like fire movement, but somewhat close. So basically, when I realized that my passive income covers all of my expenses, I decided to quit corporate world, and we moved to Texas, where we started a business in real estate. So I wanted to be my own
Mm.
boss, and I think that was an easy way to do that because in Texas you have lower regulations, lower taxes than in other states in the U.S. So that was a pretty good time to be in real estate. This was during COVID actually, and yeah, we got quite some profit from real estate ventures. And after we learned that my wife is expecting a baby, we decided to move out of the U.S. just because life is pretty stressful, expensive, medical care is crazy. You know how it works in the U.S., right? So we made a table with criteria for our kind of optimal way of living, and we selected a country that would check most of the boxes. And back then in 2023, it was Argentina. So we moved to Argentina, where I'm staying right now. And I think that that was a great decision to move here. Not only because it's much cheaper to live here, but because you're enjoying European lifestyle, and it comes with all the benefits, like you know, walkable cities, nice people, uh, good quality of medical care, and so on and so forth. So we stayed here for almost 2.5 years, and in a few days I'm moving to Mexico, actually, because I'm reconsidering my lifestyle every 2 3 years, my priorities. I think right now, when I have more time to work on my business and hobbies, it's probably better to move to another country. So we did the same thing, same quick study, and decided to go to
Yeah.
Mexico.
Bro, you've done it all. That's a crazy story so
Yeah.
far. And you're still relatively youngish. How old are you
Yes,
these
I
days?
just turned 38.
38. Okay. Nice. And so, you told me your child was born just a couple of years ago
Mhm.
when Argentina was still kind of giving passports when
Yes.
you had the babies born. So I'm sure the audience would love to know. I have to ask the question. Did you end up getting your Argentine passport?
Yes, I did. In Argentina back then, it was pretty easy. So your child is born, then you can get your permanent residency here, and then you can apply for citizenship. The process usually takes between 1.5 and 2 years. So that's pretty slow process, and you need to go to the courthouse, and you need to talk to the people there and see if they're actually working on your case. Right now, I think it's more difficult because um, I think the immigration policies are becoming stricter. And another thing is that they now moved the process from courts to the immigration offices. Basically, we lost all the know-hows. We don't really know how to do that and how much it will take now. So whenever someone tells you that you can actually get it real quick, you shouldn't trust them because we don't know. There are no data points. So there is not a single person who went through this process yet. Basically, for a few months, it was impossible to even apply, and yeah, we don't really know what to do to accelerate this process or how to make it easier for applicants.
Hmm. What would your advice be to someone who's thinking about doing having a baby in Argentina now? Do you still think it's a good idea, or has the calculus sort of changed?
Good question. I think that is still good. So it's a still good country to give birth. Why? Because um, you can give birth in a good atmosphere. It's not like in the U.S. There's like separately hospitals and birthing homes. So here you can have both of them. So you can have both sides, uh, you know, within the same um, institution. So basically, you can have your midwife observing you at home, and then at the last moment driving to the hospital. In the hospital, they don't rush you, and just at the last moment, you have all the doctors moving in there with the equipment. So it's very mm, humane way to do things, which I don't even think possible in the US. I think for any kind of money you cannot have, and it's still not very expensive. I don't know exactly how much it costs now. 2 years ago, I think we spent in total maybe $4,000 for everything, for midwife, doctors, 3 days at the hospital, and some additional tests. And we paid cash. I think that now it's probably more expensive because uh, all the prices went up, maybe doubled or tripled,
Yeah.
but it's still cheaper than in the US. I mean, the US is
Yeah, that's
crazy.
that's kind of lines up with my understand. Like you pay cash in Latin America, wherever you go, Mexico, Panama, Argentina. It's like it's not going to cost more than like 5 grand.
Yes, and at the same time, you're not getting like third third world level of medical care. You get like first world, right? So the equipment they have here is the same as in the US. The professionals are qualified in the same way. So it's not like you're giving birth in a hut or something like that, right? So it's a proper hospital,
Uh,
yeah, proper hospital, proper um, medical professionals. So it's all the same thing, just more straightforward, and I think that less stress. Um, Straightforward in the sense that you know in advance how much it will cost. You sign a contract, and there are no surprises on the way. So in the US, you can never know how much it will cost in the end.
right. And I think a big thing that you mentioned there, and we'll move on in a sec, but a big thing that you mentioned there is them not rushing you because in the US and Canada they're really like rushing you to like get you out of the room ASAP. They're they're not they're not incentivized to give a natural birth. They really want you to do the C-section because they get more money and they get the room freed up faster and so forth. Whereas in Latin America, they're depending where you go, they're more accommodating. Has that kind of been
Yes,
your experience?
yes, and I think that it's important to understand that there are public hospitals and private hospitals. So I think in public you probably have less freedom, and probably the doctor can tell you what to do. In private, you can talk to the doctor in advance and tell them, look, I don't want C-section, so try to avoid it as much as you can, and just let's talk in advance how it will go. So that freedom, I think, is important. In public, yes, it's probably not that easy, but public is free, so you can actually come here and give birth for free, and many people do that. So I know many people who did this in the past. I don't know about now, but 2 years ago, even tourists could do that.
Right. All right. Like it was famously free healthcare, free education, free everything.
Right.
Yeah, I think they're tightening that up a little bit. And so ultimately, you're kind of deciding to focus your efforts more on Mexico now. You had your run in Argentina, you got the passport, and now Malay just won like yesterday, man. You won the election, but you're still kind of moving to Mexico.
Right. Well, to be more clear, passport was not my main goal. So it was mostly the lifestyle with a small child, and passport was like icing on a cake. So I'm glad we got it, but it was not that important. Even if there was no opportunity to get it, we would still
Right, because you're a
take
U.S.
it.
citizen, so you don't
Yes.
you didn't need it, right?
Yes, exactly. I don't really need that. Yes, we're moving to Mexico because it's closer to the US, and if I want to do any fundraising, it's better to be there. Most of my business is in the US, so I didn't mention, but tequila is like a small hobby. My main activity is in real estate still, so we issue short-term real estate loans to land flippers and house flippers.
Hmm.
So I
That's
still,
called like a hard money loan, I think.
I would say, so we call it private money loans
Private. Okay. Yeah.
because hard money is similar but slightly different in the sense that Um, it's more like a real business that tries to build a huge portfolio, and they help people, investors or other small banks meet with the borrowers. But we're actually lending our own money, and we do it infrequently. So we don't do that all the time, just once in a while. But yeah, just to answer your question about Argentina, the thing is, Argentina is a nice country, but I think that the impression you get from like Twitter and other social networks is a bit too optimistic, right? So a lot of the country's image was created through like TikTok and Twitter and YouTube, but there are no serious changes in the country, in the sense that it's not easy to do business here. There are capital controls in place, a lot of corruption. So it's nice from the lifestyle point of view, but running a business here is a nightmare. Just to give you a simple example, there is no outgoing SWIFT transfer. So if you want to start a business here, you cannot really attract any investments because the money in principle can be moved in, but you cannot move it out. And on top of that, you have unpredictable exchange rate, changes, huge taxes, and regulations. You cannot fire people. The level of professionalism is pretty low in this country in general, and people are not motivated by money. So that's a big difference between, I would say, Argentina and say US. So you cannot really make people work better by paying more. So there are some good things done. So I would say that dollar became uh, not de facto second. I mean, it was already a second currency here, but I would say that dollar movement through the banking system became easier to do within the country. So some banks are now offering you dollar accounts. So that's a good thing. Some of the taxes for self-employed were lowered, so that's also good. Because in the past, I think when we just moved here, in order to get uh, preferential treatment as a self-employed businessman, you were not allowed to earn more than like $6,000 a year, and you would just jump into like 35% tax bracket quickly. So I think now it's like 75,000 a year, and self-employed people are getting very low tax brackets, like 5-10%. So that's good. But like building anything more than just like one business, one person business, is still difficult. Lots of taxes, lots of regulations, red tape, very hard. So that's why, for example, I decided not to invest in Argentina at all, and everything I do is related to like Uruguay and Paraguay. So Uruguay is a good banking system, and Paraguay is good for investments, for example, in agriculture.
Could you
But
repeat that again?
yeah, so basically, my way of living here is this: like Argentina is for living, Uruguay is for banking, Paraguay is for investments, right? So Uruguay is very good for banking. So you get connected to this.
Argentina living,
Yes,
Uruguay banking, Paraguay investments.
exactly,
Okay.
yes. So it's just like a way of living here for many people, not only for myself. So yes, I never invested into Argentina, and everything I do is in other.
Okay. And then coming back to Mexico and I guess alternative assets in general and passive income. So, how do you think about alternative assets in the way that you're approaching passive income? You kind of emphasize passive income, but say this Mexico one, it's not like you're getting monthly cash flow. It's like a buy and hold thing, and then you have a liquidity event 1, 2, 3 years down the line, right? Or how am I, or am I mischaracterizing that?
I think that you can have all kinds of options. It really depends on what we call alternative investments, because by according to American terminology, everything outside of public stocks and bonds is alternative. Um, so, with our real estate loans, we get paid regularly because we get paid interest, and then we get the money back maybe in a few months. So that's pretty liquid. With um, farms, for example, yes, you get paid during the harvest, and then you may actually never get your money back, your principal. With tequila, yes. So here we get a liquidity event in 3 years, but sometimes we can get it earlier. So it really depends. I would say that yes, overall it's less liquid than public securities or investments in general, but you're getting paid the premium, right? So that's a risk to consider, illiquidity, but you need to ask for a premium.
Okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, obviously it's sort of illiquid, but I meant like, for a type of person that wants to not work for the past 5 years and sort of live off passive income, this tequila one, obviously kind of no passive income or
Yes,
dividends or whatever in the meanwhile. So do you kind of approach it as you have a mix of alternative investments, some of which maybe have, monthly, quarterly type cash flows, and then other ones that are a bit more irregular? How do you kind of think about that?
yes, absolutely. So I have a whole portfolio of things, and tequila is probably like 5% of my portfolio, and it's more about an appreciation play than dividend play. So
Right.
my main source of income, the regular one, is mostly from those real estate loans, and I'm also invested in several funds that pay maybe once a quarter. So obviously, these things like super exotic investments, like tequila and farming, are not super important to me, right? So it's good, but I don't rely on them.
That makes sense. That's so funny to say. Yeah, I'm 5% in tequila.
Yeah, it's actually a fun way of talking to people. You go to some parties and like, oh, what do you do? Oh, right now I'm actually doing some tequila aging. Oh, really?
Right. That's perfect. Dude, I'm down. So how big is a barrel of tequila? Is that how many liters is in a barrel?
200.
200 liters.
Hmm.
Okay. So if someone wants to invest, they get their own barrel essentially. They get a 200-liter barrel.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And can we put some rough numbers on that just for people who are curious? How much does it cost me to buy a 200-liter barrel today? And what do we think it's going to be worth in 1 to 3 years from now?
Right, right. I would say that around $6,000 is what it costs to buy a barrel plus insurance for 3 years, plus storage for 3 years, plus profit to my partner in Mexico. And then it's not a guaranteed thing, right? But what we see right now from the market and the estimates I made, they show around 2.5x in 3 years.
Mhm.
Yes, but this is not guaranteed. This can fluctuate up or down, obviously. But I would say this is the ballpark.
Okay, so 6K in for the barrel, and you think the client's going to be able to sell it for like 15 to 18 thousand dollars for the barrel?
Right, right. Yes, either sell or if they have another liquidity event after 1 year, maybe they get like a cash sort of dividend, and then they refill the barrel and then restart the clock.
Okay, interesting. Huh. So, 6,000 divided by 200 liters, so it's like $30 a liter, which seems kind of high to me. But I'm sure it's like really, really good quality. And then if you sold it sort of top dollar, 18,000 for the barrel, that's like $90 per liter. That's pretty high. Like, so this
Yes,
must be like really quality stuff.
this is very yes. But look, so when you divide 6,000 by 200, you need to think about prepayment of storage,
Right.
insurance, and everything. So it's
Yeah, I get
in the
that.
profit side. Yes. So you're not just buying the liquid itself. The liquid is cheaper, of course.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I would say that maybe 15 to 20. Yes, I would say like $15 to $20 per liter.
Right. Half the cost is like the business
There's a bunch of other
expenses.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
this is true. This is true. And then if you Google extra añejo tequila per bottle, that stuff is super expensive. It's like 150 bucks, 200, and then if you go up in value, like premium stuff, it can be more 300 easily. And the bottle is 0.75 liters.
Hmm.
So if you do some back of the napkin calculation, you can see that this actually works. But you
Hmm.
also need to add additional markups, from retailer, distributor, and so on and so forth. So if you do some calculation um, and check how much the barrel will be sold for, um, then yeah, that's what we get. And just to test that, we sold the first batch, and yes, these numbers look correct. But again, this is not guaranteed. So people who actually buy those barrels, they need to think about future, and then things can happen. Maybe there will be like huge flood of premium tequila on the market, but most probably it will be still fine because I forgot to mention that those barrels, the casks themselves, they're coming from other liquids. So this way, this tequila gets additional flavor that the competitors may not know about. So
Hmm.
we have like wine, sherry, calvados, Japanese wine. Usually they give like a hint of another flavor on top of the main one, which is pretty
Hmm.
unique.
Okay, cool. I like it. And it's good. It's fun due diligence, right? You got to head out there. You got to
Drink.
drink. Yeah.
This
I've
is
been to
true.
tequila. I how did I do it? I wanted to take the train, like the Jose Cuervo Express,
Uh huh.
but it was last time I went was during COVID, and there was like problems or was sold out or I don't know COVID problems, and so I took the bus, like a public bus, for like like a where I was the only gringo on the bus, and it was like there was like six seven girls on the bus that were like on their way to the tequila and already started drinking, and I'm just there and I'm like the only gringo, and I'm like, hey ladies, are you going to tequila? And they're like, see, and it was good. So it was a good time, fun memories.
Yes, actually, our partner in Mexico, he wants to create unique experience as well. So they're now building like a big futuristic cellar.
Hmm.
And yes, his idea is to create events in that space because with wine it's pretty common, right? You go to a vineyard and you can organize weddings or other events, but with tequila it's not very common. Maybe because no one thought about this really. So he wants to create a unique venue for all these events. So
Hmm.
he's building something cool over there, and so maybe we'll meet there one day.
Totally. What I want, no one really has this, but it's like it would be like a profitable lifestyle property, which is like I'll sell you like a functioning tequila farm with some horses, with the house on it. You can live there, and like you got some cash flow coming in from the agave or something. Just like whole Don Vance compound. That's what I think people would go for that.
Yes, and actually, we're waiting for agave prices to stabilize to see if we can do something like this. Because growing agave, the cactus itself might be profitable. And right now, we live in pretty interesting time because agave prices went down a lot,
Hmm.
and many people go bust. So maybe we can buy up some of these farms for cheap, or maybe
Hmm.
we can actually finance their farming business.
Totally.
Yes. So we were just waiting. The thing is that we don't want to buy, we don't want to catch the falling knife, right?
Right.
So we don't want to be one of those people who go bust, right? Um,
That's kind of
uh,
what I was thinking was like, why not just extend the debt actually to these producers, and then eventually one of them will go bust, and I get like a sick property for cheap, right? Like extend debt to coffee growers or whatever, backed by the value of the land, things like that.
That so the land itself is not very valuable, to be honest. So it's more about the business itself.
Hmm.
Mm, Usually, when you buy farm, it's a part of investment. You buy like a portion of a farm. Usually, land is a small part of it, or sometimes there is no land at all. So there are some types of investment like vineyards and avocado plantations, citrus, and so on.
Right.
Very often, you don't even buy the land. Even if they offered it to you, it's not very important. The main thing is the productive capacity, all the business, all the inventory, machinery,
Uh-huh.
know-how, and so on. So you're basically buying a business, and I think here is something similar. So you're extending certain cash flow to the business, but you wish they don't go bust because you end up with the land with all this agave that you need to remove because otherwise they start rotting and spoiling.
Yeah,
No,
it's true.
you really need someone who actually grows this, and they just have temporary crunch,
Right.
cash crunch.
That makes sense. And it's hard to find, right? Like it's hard to find these deals.
Absolutely, like with all the deals that I have, you need to dive in, right? You cannot just Google it. You need to talk to people, negotiate with people, go there, check if it's there, because there's so much stuff that is just non-existent and just scams. Like um, some I don't know, durian farms and mango farms in Thailand. They just don't exist quite often, but they're so far away that no one checks it, right? No, you really need to talk to people and see what they need. Um, so you see that they need some cash and they are willing to pay
Right.
this much. Then you find investors who are actually willing to earn some money outside of their job. So you find some way to structure the deal where everyone is happy in the end, and you're happy too as a person who organizes that. So that's basically what I do right now. It's not a full time job, but when I was in real estate, for example, I was flipping houses, and I was talking to other people who do the same, and they said, "Oh man, I cannot get a loan from the bank because banks do not finance houses that are not ready for living, right? If there is like a hole
Right.
in the roof, I cannot
Right.
get a bank loan. I just need to finance this property and then renovate and resell. So I just offered them a loan and used the house as a collateral because back then I knew how much the house is worth, how much the renovation will cost, so I could disburse them money in a good way, so it's not risky. And at the end, everyone was happy. So they got this house renovated and sold. We got our interest and the full money back. So I realized that okay, there is a need for this. So we started financing these deals, house loans and land loans as well. So land flipping is a new field. I don't know
Mm.
if you're aware of this, but it's probably the most profitable um, real estate business in the U.S. when you send out thousands of postcards, like real physical postcards.
I've heard of this.
Yes, I did the same. Right, you just send it out, and then you say, okay, I want to buy your land with cash. Call me. Here's the number, and then maybe one in thousand people agree, and then you immediately resell for more because you know how much this land is worth. You know your target buyer, so you can make some good money doing this. So right now, I'm mostly focusing on financing people who actually flip land. Yeah.
That's cool. Wow. So we'll get to wrapping up. I do actually have a hard stop in a couple of minutes here. So what's the best way for people to get in touch with you? We didn't really coordinate this before we started recording. Do you have a link, or should I have them go through me first and kind of vet them? What do you want to do?
I think they can go to the landing page. I just created a domain with a landing
Okay.
page specifically for
Sweet.
you.
Okay,
Uh,
sweet.
yeah,
Thank you.
because I'm not very public, so I think I've never recorded a podcast, especially about this kind of thing. So I created a domain, and um, a special link. So it's venturevibes.net slash latam. And you can just go there, and then there's a simple contact form. Just put your contacts in there, and then you can um, click a checkbox, like send a brochure, and submit, and then you get the response and the brochure. And just check your spam folder, because it's a new domain, so it may go to spam initially.
Good point.
Yes, but this is basically it, right? So there is no like huge like marketing outreach business on my side. So this is the easiest way to contact.
No, this is awesome, dude. Thank you for doing that. I'll put the link in the description as well, guys. So in the description to the episode, whether you're listening on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever, there's a link in the description of this podcast episode where you can go to the website that's been specifically spun up for this venture. Get your own barrel of tequila for about $6,000. Hey, if you live in Mexico, maybe just buy it for yourself and bring it back to Mexico City or wherever you live, and just go crazy with it. Who knows?
Sure.
But dude, thank you so much for doing this. This has been really interesting to learn about the tequila business and the opportunity here.
Sure, sounds good. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, this has been another episode of the MyLatinLife podcast. Again, our guest today, Tigran, international man of mystery, venture vibes, tequila investing. Hope you guys learned a lot, and there's a genuine opportunity here, but I believe it's a very limited time thing. Almost all the barrels are spoken for. So I'm going to put this episode out like right after we chat, so that people still have an opportunity to grab a barrel if they would like, because they are going fast. There's not too many. It's obviously limited production. So if you listen to this episode and you are interested, you're going to want to take action right away, right? Sweet. Well, this has been another episode of the MyLatinLife podcast. Thanks again. I'll see you in the next episode. Ciao for now.